Good morning, MHS engineers. So right now, most of you have completed creating a design of your mechanical grabber. So that's your hand-drawn copy with some materials that you found around the house and some very basics of what the design is going to look like. We're going to move that to CAD right now. I am going to make this in a very simple sort of way. So you'll notice that when I show you my design, I'm kind of forcing things into place. I'm moving things manually. This is not, by any stretch of the imagination, the best way to do it. There's better, cleaner ways to do it, but I want to make sure that when I show this to you, that you can do this no matter what online CAD program you're using, whether it's Fusion 360, the full version, the web version, or even Tinkercad. So any of those, you can do everything that I am showing you now. If you have any questions, feel free to post those things up to Slack, and or Classroom is fine too. And I'll keep on checking in on those. If you haven't submitted a hand-drawn design yet, make sure you get to that. And have a great day and enjoy my design as I make through it. So take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Okay, let's get started. So, um, the my design has got a cylinder that sort of runs the length, and so I am going to create that very simply with the cylinder tool. While I'm here, I am going to change my units because I want to work in inches. And I have a 24-inch tube here. So let's see. So I am going to go back, create a cylinder, and I'm going to make this an inch and a half or 1.5 inches in diameter. That's the tube that I have, and I am going to extend that out to 24 inches. So basically all I have is the cylinder. Now, if you're in Real Fusion, it's very easy to shell this to make it look nice. And so that's what I'm going to do right here is to shell this. You got to zoom in a little bit. And that looks like a real tube. Okay. Now, if you're not in Real Fusion, go right ahead and just leave it as a solid cylinder, and that's fine. So let's see here. So in my design, I had a pivot point on one end with a stick sort of that runs through it. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to put that stick across the top here. And now I'm going to try to do this using very basic commands. So I'm going to model all my sticks as half-inch um, cylinders because that's kind of like what the sticks I found in my backyard. And so what I am going to do is I am going to create another cylinder that's about a half an inch. And as per my design, it looks something like that. And if we look at my bodies, that's that. I'm going to now move that. Um, and let's see, let's do it. Just a plain old translate. So my design has something like this going on, where I have this stick coming across the top, which it's sort of set up right now. And that looks kind of good. Maybe rotated too much. So something like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. And if I look down at this per my design, I think I need to extend this a little bit. So that's an easy command. I am going to press pull this face out. No, I don't want to fill it. I'm going to press pull this face. To get it closer to the relative scale that I had, which looks maybe something like that. Good. And then I had a similar stick, and for this, I'm going to really make my life easier. I'm just going to keep on duplicating these things and editing them. So let's see, that's that body. I'm going to move copy, and create a copy and do something like that. And let's rotate it. Oh, wrong way. So I have this going at sort of an angle like that. And then I am going to move it in close, just like that. Yeah, that looks about right. And I'm going to let it go there. And then I am going to press pull this edge, or this face rather, when I zoom in so I can trim this out. Got to make sure that they overlap because, right, I'm doing this with sticks, so these are just going to get tied together here. So I'm going to leave it maybe just a little bit longer like that. And then the other part of my design has a stick that comes off of the side of the tube here. So for that, I think it's just as easy to create a new cylinder, and let's create it along the face of that, and I can always move it. And again, this is 0.5 of an inch, and I am gonna make sure it's long enough this way, which it is. And then I am going to move around and press pull this side so I can strap it onto this tube. Let's see what this looks like. Let's go back to my home view. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to have happen, right? So I got these two sticks here. This is essentially my claw, and this is the gripper piece here. These don't perfectly match up, but I might have to find some way to do that. Okay, that's great. So that's part of it. Oh, by the way, I didn't save. So now I have my design has a string that runs from this side all the way to the back to like a trigger sort of mechanism. So let's see if I can make that. I'm going to model the string again as a just a plain old cylinder, and I kind of want it to be parallel to the tube. So I am going to create a cylinder on this plane, and I'm going to just do it right next to it, just like that. And my string is really small, so let's see, 0.25, and this is going to run the length like that. And it's going to get connected to this stick here. I want it to be a new body. I can always attach that in a second or go back. Let's see. So the trouble when you're doing this sort of piecemeal is to get everything to match up the way that you want. So I am going to pull this face just a little bit more, and then I am going to take this body and I am going to move it, and I'm going to move it up so it intersects with that stick, right? Because that's my string. So that's where I want it to be. So that's going to run the length. That looks good. Let's fit it and do the home view. Okay, so I got my string that sort of runs the length. And now that string is going to be attached to sort of like a, I don't know, I created kind of like, or the idea is to create sort of a gripper mechanism. So I am going to take, let's see, two sticks, and I am going to put them on either sides of this tube here. So let's see if I can do that. And that's going to be sort of like a handle. Create, and I am going to create another cylinder. Notice I'm doing this all out of just cylinders. These are all 0.5 inches. I'm going to bring it this way. So that's probably about good. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it. So it's touching this piece right like that. We're very close to touching that piece. So I like that. And then I'm going to take that piece and I'm going to duplicate it again. So it's going to go on the, okay, so these two sticks are going to act kind of like as a handle. I'm going to take some string and wrap it around that edge right there, which I can't really model. Body 6 and body 7, I'm going to move them, and I'm going to move them just like that. That's better. And then I'm going to take another stick, and that's where I'm attaching the string. So it's sort of going to be like my trigger mechanism. Let me save one more time. It's going to be like my trigger mechanism. So I'm going to take one of these sticks here. Again, get this just right. So I am going to move it just like that. And then I'm going to see if I can rotate it a little bit, which I can, and get this just right. And this is the part where my string is going to attach to. So it's going to kind of be just like attached to the tube here by like, let's see, I want it to be up a little bit, sort of like chopsticks. It's just going to be tied there, so it's just kind of floating sort of nice and neat, but not perfectly affixed. And I like that. That looks good so far. And then, so I need to cut this string down a little bit, which when we're cutting something like that, oops, sorry for the weird movement here. When I cut something like that, it's going to be just a simple press pull because that's where the string is attached. Good, everything is looking good. Now the last little crazy part of my design has like another stick that's going to act like a spring to sort of pull it back. So it stays open until I pull it closed, right? Because the lever, when I activate this lever here, it's going to pull the string and close. I'm sorry, it's going to open the gripper, and when I let it go, it's going to close the gripper. The problem is that I need it to sort of pull in the opposite direction in order to keep it closed. And so in my drawing, I simply have like a bent stick here that is attached to the this piece of this piece of wood up here by a string. So let's see if I can do something that sort of looks like that. So I'm going to create a sketch, and I am going to sketch on this surface, and my design has a stick that sort of comes out of here and gets bent. So you can use a spline or an arc. Let's do an arc. So it kind of looks like, and so what this is going to be, it's going to act as like a little spring sort of thing. I'm going to leave that right where it is because it's perfect, but I'm going to create a pipe along that path. And so this is slightly advanced, and so I'm going to create a new body. It's circular, the section size. Let's leave it at 0.3, that's fine. And this piece here is going to get attached to that piece by a string, and it's going to act like a little spring is what it is. So let's do one more string. I don't know, let's do a cylinder again. So this cylinder, I'm going to do it on this plane up here, and we used 0.25, and we pulled it out over. See if I can get it even remotely close. All this moving stuff is not the right way to go, but we're gonna make sure we can get it done this way. Okay. See how tough it is to move this stuff in 3 dimensions? This is why we try to avoid this. It's going to look kind of like that, actually. So I'm going to leave that where it is and hit save. And then this is sort of my design, actually. This is what I'm going to try to build. So it's this paper tube. These two sticks are wrapped around the edge, kind of like a trigger grip. This is the trigger that pulls the string. The gripper is very simple, this sort of bent mechanism, and then this is like a spring that keeps it going open and closed. And so that's what it looks like. If you have any questions about this, or I can help with this design, or you get stuck somewhere, just let me know. Thanks a lot.